Andy, we're live.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that. Avast, ye scurvy sea dogs, to Geek Salad's retro movie review from the Geek Salad podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And tonight we have two very special guests joining us down below, over there, where I'm pointing. We have the lovely Miss Nick from the Black Girls Do Stuff 2 podcast.
Hello.
And over on this side, down here, the freshly shorn Mr. Tom Green from the Movies After Work podcast.
Hey there, guys.
Make it sound like he went to a sheep shearer.
I honestly, I'm thinking this this farmer's holding him down.
I mean, you saw that beard. There aren't a lot of options for me at this. Once it gets to that
there
point.
are not. So, before we begin, as we always do, because y'all are regulars and we love having you on here, let everybody know a little bit about your show and what you do. We'll start down here. I always get these screwed up with Nick.
Hello. So as Andy said, I'm Nick and I'm from Black Girls Do Stuff 2. It's a podcast that basically brings to light and perspective and gives a voice to places you don't typically see Black girls. So comics, movies that aren't just Black Panther or, Get Out or Candyman that's coming up, although we will talk about that too. And just pretty much being about representation.
Nice. And Tom, how about yourself, sir?
Like you guys said, our show's Movies After Work. It's myself and my friend Alex. And it's just basically two tired dads of toddlers with full-time jobs talking about movies.
Nice. Awesome. So tonight, Nick and Tom are here to join us to discuss the 2005 classic starring Jesse Jane, Janine Linden Mulder, and Evan Stone, Pirates that... Oh, we're not talking about the porno, are we? Shit! All right, Mike, you got to take this one then. I'm sorry, I did more research for this one.
Well, that means
You
I
told
watched the
me
wrong
we were
movie.
doing Country Bears, so...
So wait. Did I watch Haunted Mansion for nothing?
Oh, I kid, because you know what? That's the type of landlubber I am. Tonight we are talking about the 2003 live-action Disney classic with a K, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Now, as you'll notice, a member of the Geek Salad team is not here tonight. Todd did not make it, so in his honor, I found where the rum went. You know what though? I found where this went, but I have no idea where my shot glasses went. So
I also brought rum. So
what's a proper pirate's salutation? When I just say "When at your sails"?
Yar.
Yar.
When your sales, I think, works.
And I'm guessing by the end of this show, he'll be saying, "But why is the rum gone?"
No, actually, I had to hold on to this because after I'm recording, my wife has demanded some rummy drinks. So, and it's the only you know that we're gonna have rummy drinks if there's orange juice in the house, because we don't drink orange juice normally. So, if I'm gonna keep my alcohol to blood ratio as normal, I'm sticking with beer tonight. So, Pirates of the Caribbean. Let me ask everybody: was there anybody here who did not see this first in the movie theater?
I think I saw this one in the theater. I'm pretty sure I did.
Tom?
I know I did. I saw it because my family went and saw it in a theater in Maine. I think it was called Chunky's.
Ooh.
And it was you ordered a full meal. There were long black tables, the Captain Kirk leather seats. They brought out your meal during the trailers, and that's how we experienced this movie. The opening weekend that it came out was in that theater. So it was this whole new experience for me on top of watching this movie.
Nice. We actually have one in Nashua, New Hampshire, which is about 45 minutes away from us, and I kind of still like a trip out there at some point for reasons we've discussed in the past, but he had a lovely party. So,
I actually went to Chunky's for the very first time last November.
Really? What did you see?
The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, okay. Cool. But yeah, no. How about, and like, I'm assuming you saw this in the theater, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think in 2003 I saw this movie more times in the theater than any movie in 2003. We were that hardcore into the. And no, I love those big wooden sailing naval ships. It's just like it's always been a passion of mine. That's why I was so psyched that in the same year Master and Commander came out, because that is just like my jam. And I saw that movie, and I saw this movie. And first of all, let's get this out of the way right now. This movie in 2003, where there wasn't a whole lot of movies you can get super excited about, this movie brought a lot of fun back to the movie-going experience. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say this movie is just the ultimate happy accident. Really,
Yeah.
They were. I mean, it wasn't like they were trying to make a bad movie, but they just happened to make a phenomenal movie.
And it almost didn't happen either. Michael Eisner tried his best to kill this one
Why?
because
That's Eisner.
he didn't think
Yeah.
it was going to turn out very good. It was going. He didn't think it was worth all the money they were spending on it. Yeah.
Okay.
This was bad. This was when he was really kind of circling the drain in Disney Company.
He was out within 2 years after this movie was
And
released.
I believe 2004 he was kicked out.
Okay, I thought it was
He was
5. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt. I read the Disney War book about 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I remember reading that he was very, very. He just didn't get this movie, and he thought it was a waste of money. And it turned out being not only one of the biggest hits of the year, but as Tom had mentioned, this was a happy accident. Nobody expected this movie to do well. That first teaser trailer, I was laughing at it. I thought it looked so stupid.
Was that the one where he was just running?
No, it was the one where they did like something. They set it up, but it was underwater, and you just saw like the skeleton foot walking underwater, and without any context, it just looked dumb. And they're like, next summer, Pirates of the Caribbean. And we've seen what happens when they do this. Like, Tom had mentioned Country Bears, which I think came out before this.
I can't remember. Nobody remembers.
Movies based on amusement park rides are usually just awful. They really are. And now you got me thinking, were there any, I mean, I don't know if we count
Country
Tomorrowland.
Bears came out the year before.
Yeah, 2002.
Yep.
Just remember from all that spiked hair that all the kids had, which was, the thing back in that day. Jet spikes and rotten kids. But yeah, I mean, I don't count Tomorrowland as a theme, like an amusement park ride movie, because it's a larger concept than that.
Right.
Yeah.
But has any movie done anywhere near this in terms of quality that's based on an amusement park ride?
No.
No?
I'd say definitely not.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there haven't been really a whole lot.
Well, yeah.
There's Pirates of the Caribbean series. There's the Haunted Mansion. There's Country Bears. Jungle Cruise has not come out yet.
And I got to admit, I'm actually pretty psyched about that one.
Yeah.
Because it looks very reminiscent of the 1999 Mummy.
Yeah, very much so.
And to the point where Emily Blunt kind of looks like Rachel Weisz.
And I mean, Emily Blunt and The Rock. What's not to like?
Yeah, they do a good job of outweighing the fact that Jack Whitehall, I think is his name, is in the movie. It's a good counterbalance to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm with a lot of people. I watched the trailer and I was already exhausted with him.
Fair enough.
So now, Tom and Nick, did either of you have experience with the ride Pirates of the Caribbean prior to seeing the movie?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Okay. So, in other words, though, you don't feel like you had any preconceived notions that were going to tilt your like or dislike of the movie one way or another?
No. And honestly, for any movie ride that was to come out, there's only one ride we discussed this before that I don't like at Disney. So I don't think anything would sway me unless it's a small world after all ride. In which case, I'd be like, I don't think I want to see that. Like, traumatized. I don't think I want to do that.
Well, that
Don't
movie
get made into a movie until Disney does horror movies. Just,
And then I might say because it'd be properly themed.
I
Well,
do want to see.
They did
I
make
do
a
want to
cameo
see
appearance in
better.
Tomorrowland.
What's that?
oh
They
yeah,
did make a cameo appearance in Tomorrowland.
Yeah,
Okay.
I forgot about that.
I would really like to see them try to redo Haunted Mansion, but make it more like the throughway stories that were in the that are actually in the attraction.
Yeah. That would
I
be
mean,
cool.
that's actually one thing that kind of came to mind while I was watching it a couple of days ago. Is that I mean, there are references to the ride in the movie in Pirates of the Caribbean, but they're few and far between, and they're really just kind of hidden in there almost.
They're
With
Easter
Haunted-
eggs.
Yeah, with Haunted Mansion, it was pretty much, oh, look, this is from the movie. Oh, look, this is from the ride. Look, this is from the ride. That's from the ride. That's from the ride, too.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? Try to be your own thing first, and then put the Easter eggs in.
Right.
The funny thing with the Haunted Mansion movie is I don't think they realize how close they are to basically following in a formula kind of similar to the 90s Casper movie. And that's the direction they really should have leaned more towards, where it was just having fun, being silly, being for the family, instead of the, like, yeah, the violent reference beating you over the head movie that it ended up being.
Yeah. So back to Pirates of the Caribbean. I actually had the good fortune of seeing this at a drive-in on a double bill with Finding Nemo, the other movie I saw a shit ton of in 2003.
Was Nemo 2003 or 2004?
No, 2003. It
was.
2004.
That one I remember for sure is 2003. I had a Nemo pillow in my first car. Like that. You know what I'm saying?
I know that one for sure because I worked in babyfold at the church I was going to at the time, and more parents were angry at Finding Nemo making their kids cry than Pirates of the Caribbean. Finding Nemo was making more kids cry, which makes sense. It would just out of nowhere, suddenly really loud music, Albert Brooks screaming, and the kids apparently psychically knew what Ellen DeGeneres was like in person. So, inevitable crying.
I mean, this is one of the better summer movies I can remember as an adult, primarily because both of those movies came out at a time when my wife and I were, we had the expendable income, no mortgage, and we could just pick up and go wherever we wanted. And there would be nights when we would go out to dinner or we would see some friends, and it's like, well, it's 10 o'clock. What do you want to do? Hey, the movie theater's right there. There's an 11 o'clock showing of Pirates of the Caribbean. You want to go see that? Yeah, let's do that. And that's no small feat because this movie is like, what, 2 hours and 35 minutes long?
It is long.
It's a commitment.
It's 223.
Okay. I wasn't that far off. But yeah, you're right. It is. It's funny because it feels like a long movie, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like a long movie because it's got a very decent flow to it.
Yeah.
So
the momentum is good.
So let's talk characters real quick. And I'm going to start with Nick here. Outside of Jack Sparrow, we will just all discuss afterwards. Who is your favorite character in this movie?
Outside of Jack Sparrow, you're really making me think. No, it's not even that hard. My favorite character is the duo. Both the human duo and then the crew duo that argue back and forth all the time.
Rigetti and what's his name?
And
Pinto.
That's it.
Yeah, so it's just that every time they're on the screen, even though you know the bit, it's funny every single time. And so I just enjoy them whenever they're on. And the like human soldier version.
Oh yeah, yes.
I like them too. So
You've actually seen a sail a ship with black sails, pirated by a evil that hell spat him back out.
No.
No.
But it did have black sails.
It's funny every time.
How about you, Tom?
That's easy for me. It's Barbosa.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
the same.
well, and that's what, honestly, that's the main reason my family, we went to go see the movie. It was another genre film with Jeffrey Rush as the villain, like Mystery Men. So we had to go see it.
Oh, you said the right word for Andy.
Oh,
Yeah. No.
But but he's right though. I mean, and this was again, Jeffrey Rush was also in Nemo.
Mm-hmm.
One of these guys that doesn't say no very often, and sometimes when he doesn't say no, he actually mines gold, especially because I never once feel like Jeffrey Rush sleeps through a role. Like, in Mystery Men, I don't feel like he ever slept through Casting of Frankenstein, even though he had every right to do so. But it was Barbosa. It's that inflection in his voice, just that menace, that look, that sneer, just and
he is a gentleman pirate, basically. I mean, and when he's when Elizabeth thinks they're gonna kill her, and you just like slice her hands, like waste not.
Yeah. Well, he does a fantastic job throughout this movie, just turning on a dime from doing really dark, like the ghost stories speech to from that, and then next scene or in the next moment suddenly he's talking about pirate guidelines, and he better than anyone else in really the whole franchise. His character can just flip on a dime to do whatever he needs to do.
Yeah.
I
completely agree with that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think his entrance into the film really sets the tone where you kind of buy into his character and okay, I don't know if I want to like him because he's a bad guy, as I typically do, or if I want to hate him because he's the bad guy, sort of thing. But either way, you're invested. You make that decision right then because he just commands that first scene that he's in, and you're just like, okay, I'm in. Whichever way I lean, I'm in. So
yeah, I especially like too because I mean, I honestly find that there are times that he is far more quotable than Jack Sparrow is.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, there are times because my kids have both seen this movie. If they ask me for something and I can say, I'm not inclined to acquiesce your request, means no. There's that.
Don't impugn my honor.
What's that?
Don't impugn my honor.
I also, I can't even pronounce the word apples without doing that. But there's this one scene, and it took me, I think, the second or third time, because my wife noticed it straight up. He is the only pirate to actually R. And yeah, he's the only one, and he kind of does it as kind of a goof. I don't remember exactly what part of the movie it is, but he does that. He's Yarr. So yeah, it's I
rewatch it.
Yeah, please rewatch it. Mike, how about you?
Well, I mean, my favorite from my very first showing was Will Turner, but I mean, he is kind of more like the straight man. Watching it again a few days ago, I was kind of surprised at how much I liked Norrington. His character
is an interesting character.
Because he comes off as as a dick. Right off the bat, they're setting him up to be a dick. But as the movie goes on, no, he actually does care about Elizabeth a lot.
Yeah.
And when she kind of defends Jack and Will at the end, you could see the heartbreak in him. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, just watching him again, he is actually surprisingly fully fleshed and fully three-dimensional for a character you think is going to be kind of a two-dimensional character.
Yeah, Yeah, and they, in the subsequent, Matrix Reloaded versions of the other movies that they came out with, there are more just patently black and white villains in that, and Norrington definitely becomes more sympathetic. I still have a hard time reconciling the fact that I'm going to marry this girl that I've known since she was
That
6.
part right there.
That is hard to get past, considering that she's like what,
10.
18, 19.
She's like 5 when the movie starts.
Yeah. And we can't forget, Keira Knightley, I think, was 18 when this movie was released.
Mm-hmm.
So, she is literally grown up before our eyes at this point because she was a child in this movie.
I'm just checking Jack Davenport's age versus Keira Knightley's age.
Oh, I'm sure it's huge.
Whoa, not that much actually. He's only 12 years older than her.
Okay. So when he was 24, she was 12. When he was 30, forget the math.
She was 18.
18. Okay, fine. All right. That's the actors, not the. I don't know how old. These Commodores usually have to be in service for a very long time.
I used to know if they get a black wig or a white wig. I don't know how old or young they're supposed to be, because in the beginning of the movie, they all have black wigs. And by the time she's 18, they all switched to have the white wig. So I figured that meant they were older. Is that not what the wigs mean?
I think the color of the wig mainly means like your life's station. So the whiter the wig, the more kind of up the social class you are.
Which explains the governor's wig.
Yes.
Okay.
And Jonathan Pryce he's by no means great in this, but I do enjoy some of his things.
He has a thankless job, more so than anyone else in this movie with his role, but he just takes it and has fun with it.
Yeah.
And because, like, beyond just the fact that I've liked his career in general, it made me happy to see him in subsequent movies that, he was still around because I liked him.
Mm-hmm.
The bit with the dismembered hand is actually pretty funny.
See, I like when I like when they're all celebrating victory and he comes out and is trying to be jovial, and then he sees the pirate and he's like does that and then immediately moves away.
He's like doing that Katimbe Mutombo thing. He's like, "No, Michael." Yeah. For mine, I'm agreeing with Tom. I think Barbossa is just such a gem, and really, this movie revolved around Jack Sparrow, the heart and soul of Jack Sparrow. But Barbossa is just such the glue that holds everything else together.
I mean, the scene where he's like giving dinner to Elizabeth, and he's just watching her eat everything and drink everything. It's like there's such like a need there.
Yep.
That he can't be. You can understand why he's so desperate to lift this curse.
And his last words too.
Yep.
When he finally turns human, and he's just like, "I feel cold," and it was just like he felt something before he died, and it was just really a nice little coda to his story in that. And it would have been nice.
A great feeling of relief.
Well enough alone, but gestures wildly at everything. So, let's talk a little bit about Jack Sparrow himself, Johnny Depp. Do you know that this is actually the first movie he was ever nominated for an Oscar for?
Yep.
Wow. I didn't know he was nominated.
Nick, on the other hand, I don't think knew that this was either the first one or that he was nominated for this one.
That it was the first one. I didn't know.
Yeah. No, he had done some, and he actually, I think, has done better acting work prior to this. I still think he was robbed at least the nomination for Ed Wood
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But with this one, he really made he has kind of a thankless job in the fact that you have to come up with an iconic character that, first of all, has no basis in pre-existing history in a movie that has basis in pre-existing history.
Mhm.
Not just so much the pirates aspect itself, but the ride.
Mhm.
Up
And also-
until about 2005, there was no Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean.
And also, he just surprised the hell out of everybody with that Keith Richards like mannerism.
Yeah.
Oh,
He just showed up at the first script read through and just started doing that, and the producers were like, can he do that?
I think what the ideal was that they were going to let him just kind of do it until he got tired of it, and then they found it was working. Because that's the thing, he's not your handsome lead. He's not, even though they kind of like allude to it, he's never going to steal anybody's girl.
Mhm.
No.
He's kind of his own man. He's a free spirit. His calling is the sea, if you will.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And
What?
I do like. Despite what Andy says, I actually do like most of the following Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But one thing I'm not a big fan of is how, like, as the movies progressed, he kind of became Jack became more of a parody of himself.
Yeah.
And then just rewatching this first movie, he is a master pirate. He's like one or two steps ahead of virtually everybody for the most part throughout the film. And it's really kind of jarring when you watch the later movies how different he is, where he kind of like stumbles and kind of blind lucks his way through all of his adventures. Here, he's actually planning things out.
Mhm. I agree with that. For sure.
Well,
That's one of the gripes I have with and I like the sequels as well, but that's one of the gripes that I have with it is that it went from like, yeah, he's a little offbeat, but he's still a good pirate, to like, it's comical, and so let's just add in these things for a funny laugh for the audience,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that still just amazes me about this first movie is the fact that Jack Sparrow is legitimately not a good guy. He is coming within inches of murdering our heroes to get what he wants at times. He is, essentially sexually harassing our female ingenue during our introduction to him. Yeah, it's just he is throughout the movie doing legitimately bad stuff, like to the point where you have this character who's like the comic relief, the like Han Solo anti-hero, and a legitimate like tag-along villain all rolled into one and works.
I can't disagree with any of that. It definitely skews your expectation of your blockbuster protagonist. And we were in a weird time. 03? I mean, what do we have for franchises at this point? We barely had a Spider-Man franchise.
Star Wars had just ended.
No, it hadn't. Star Wars, Attack of the Clones from Outer Space in 3D came out the year before, and
yeah, we had a couple of years before Sith.
You're right.
And that's we were 6 months away from the end of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah. So you didn't have like these. You weren't going to the movie theater for this style of entertainment anymore because it just, frankly, didn't exist. It came out on Memorial Day, and then maybe you get one more June release. You get your Disney release, and then that's it. And I mean, hell, even with the Disney releases, they were the Pixar releases at this point that you were looking forward to.
What was that, Nick?
I said we had the second Matrix in 2003, I think.
Yeah. Yes, we did. You are right.
I think I still have residual headaches from the amount of information overload that my eyeballs had to suck in for that movie.
That's another conversation for another day. I'll step away from it.
That would be a bad conversation comparing the sequels of Pirates of the Caribbean to the sequels for The Matrix.
Oh, Pirates is way better.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think regardless of quality, they both have the same factor. And I gotta give credit to my dad for this one because he's the one that used Summer to discover this years ago. Is that both franchises, the second and third movie, watching them individually, watching them immediately back to back to each other, and their quality is actually a lot better. Like for The Matrix and Pirates, those second and third movies, you watch them back to back, they're a lot, they're an easier thing to swallow. They're a lot more enjoyable. So they both have that quality to them.
Okay. And then the other Pirates movies.
The other two Pirates movies are house payments for Johnny Depp. They don't count as anything.
Hey, 5 is really, really good.
And I've heard that. I've heard that 5 is really, really good. 4 is totally Pirates of the Caribbean, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
4 is the only one I'm not a big fan of.
The fifth Pirates to me it's Pirates of the Caribbean, Too Fast, Too Furious. we officially give up on physics. All the characters are basically immortal unless there's a plot point needed to be made out of someone's demise. It's just it. I get that a lot of people put it above the fourth one, but honestly, the fourth one at least had Ian McShane and Penelope Cruz having fun, not necessarily giving great performances, but having fun. Whereas Javier Bardem in the fifth one, it was like someone clamped his tongue and told him to try to speak with like a French accent. I wasn't sure what he was doing.
Yeah, but I thought Barbosa especially was really, really solid in the fifth movie.
They tried to do a lot more with him than they did in the fourth one, but I still felt like because we had just invested too much time in it being all about Jack Sparrow in the fourth and fifth films, that we were still just shafting every other character too much to the point where, we could have had legitimately interesting romantic characters from the fourth one carry on into the fifth one and so on and so forth. But instead we just had, we basically had to hit reset and see if we could find a way to try to bring everyone else back because we realized it wasn't working.
But back to the first one. So back to the Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, the thing that doesn't get talked about enough with this film, and I truly believe is the number one reason this film works to the level it does, is the score.
I was just going to bring that up, actually. So a couple weeks ago, just to give you some context, a couple of weeks ago, Mike and I were guest hosts on our friend Julie's podcast, F Yeah Disney, and we played a game of Disney Tag, and when it came around to what's the best music from one of the live action movies, this was my pick. Klaus Blödel's score is infectious. I just mention it. It's in my head right now. It's going to be there all night.
Sam.
I actually paid attention to the score extra close because I knew we were going to talk about it tonight. I said, you know what? I'm going to be prepared for this conversation this time.
Done her homework.
Yeah. She knows our secrets now, Mike. She's one of us.
I feel no shame in the fact that when I was in college and we were doing sword fighting in one of my classes, actually my friend Aaron, who does the Fighting With Myself MMA podcast, and he's guested on our show, he and I had something we were rehearsing, so I went and grabbed my copy of the Pirates of the Caribbean score and put that on for us to fight alongside.
Nice. I wish I had that when I was in college because prior to Pirates of the Caribbean, you could not make a Pirates movie.
Yep.
At all. I mean, Cutthroat Island is a notorious bomb. The Walter Matthau Pirates, directed by Roman Polanski, it's another one. It's a big bloated mess with money that just got shot out of a cannon somewhere into the ocean, and then nobody bothered to ask what happened to that money.
Does Waterworld count as a pirate movie?
It may as well because, Dennis Hopper's menacing eye patch.
If we're going to count it as a movie, we might as well count it as a pirate movie.
And that one I paid movie money for because I'm an idiot.
But yeah, it's literally Errol Flynn and then decades upon decades of film, and then Pirates of the Caribbean before, and that's the gap in like pirate films that work.
Yeah.
And that succeed. I mean, they even had that right as Monty Python was dispersing, some of them got back together to make that Yellowbeard movie. So it was like knockoff Pythons, but still with the Pythons, and even that nobody wanted to watch.
It was on a lot on HBO when I was a kid, so I watched that one a lot. So I do have kind of a soft spot for Yellowbeard. But yeah, it's amazing how well, as Tom mentioned at the top of the show here, it's a happy accident. This movie should have worked in so many ways. You don't film on the ocean, first off. Never film on the ocean. But they did it. They did. Actually, what's interesting is, have you guys watched the Prop Culture documentary series on Disney Plus?
The whole thing, fantastic.
Nick?
Very much so.
No, I haven't watched it.
Oh, you need to watch it. They did Pirates of the Caribbean for that and tried to find some of the props, the artifacts. All of those swords were made by an actual armorer, a guy who makes real swords, and the research involved and just the love and the care for essentially the prop swords, not the action swords, because they didn't want them to break.
Mm-hmm.
But it is astounding how cool that is, and the fact that they had a full-size boat for the ocean shots, but they also had a large model for distant shots and stuff. And it's really cool. And I mean, who doesn't love the cursed Aztec gold?
Yeah.
Which for the longest time was actually the actual prop was in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride out in California, but last few years it hasn't been there.
Oh.
Yeah.
They tried to find one of the things that thought there's chocolate underneath that foil.
I don't know what they did with it.
My guess is they probably put it in the archive. So it's it's sitting in a box beside Mary Poppins' carousel horse in the archive somewhere, probably.
Perhaps. It's right next to the Ark of the Covenant, just waiting to be discovered. And that's a callback from our show.
Things not to open. A whole row of them.
I want to find a way to combine the Raiders March with the Pirates theme.
You know what? You can't. I don't know if you can or not. With John Williams music, it's easy to fuse the music together into one.
Oh yeah.
Long, marching theme.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bladel score, and I'm specifically talking the Bladel score, not the Hans Zimmer stuff that came in the subsequent movies here, because he set the tone.
Yeah.
Looks like Jonna is watching, and she said, they did bring the chest back.
Oh.
And she
They
also
brought
said,
it just back to Disneyland, or they bring it back to the movies?
no, they brought it back for the Disneyland ride.
Oh, cool. And eventually, when that place opens up again, Worst timeline. Who's got the rest of the Aztec gold? So,
everyone checking their house for a coin.
This is the closest thing to an amusement park ride that you could have gotten out of a movie about an amusement park ride.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was just going to say that there was one thing that kind of I'm not a biggest fan of in this movie, and especially evident watching it last night, a couple of nights ago, is that in HD it very much looks like 2003 CG.
Yeah.
The pirates, especially like the scene where like they're tossing Elizabeth all around the ship, and they're walking when they're walking along the water, it you can tell the age.
Mm-hmm. You can definitely tell the age to the special effects, but at the same time, like I still think back, and for my dad and I, my dad had raised me on Ray Harryhausen and all sorts of different, Phil Tippett, Stan was, just all the different effects throughout the years, and the just general like CG skeletons, that was whatever. For us, it was that fight sequence with Barbossa and Jack, and just how well they transitioned from looking human to being a skeleton in the moonlight. The way that just flowed and transitioned and bled together.
I also
holds up.
I also did love how like when they go through the moonlight, it's not just them that become skeletons; it's their clothes that become ragged, and like even like brand new clothes, like when Pintel and Ragetti are wearing those dresses, and there's running out when as soon as they they moonlight hits them, those dresses become just ragged, just rags and all that. And like those are brand new dresses; they just stole them.
The parasol has a ton of holes in it at that point.
Yeah. I love that little bit too, where they see them in the monoscope, and he waves, and he's like, "Oh." I can agree with you that the mainly it's like the wider shots of the skeletons. I agree. I think the fight choreography in this movie is it's top notch.
Oh yeah,
I actually think my favorite fight is towards the beginning in the blacksmith shop.
Yeah.
I think that Will and Jack just have a really masterful back and forth in the environment that they're given. Very similar to kind of like the fight in The Princess Bride.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That one's great. And I might have the numbers wrong, but I know that they ranked the writers of the movie, they ranked all of the sword fighters in the movie at like their quality from a scale of 1 to 5. And it was like, if I remember correctly, it's Barbossa and Will are 5s, Norrington's a 4, Jack's a 1. And so they went with
pirate.
Yes, that was their thing, was like make him a bad sword fighter, and now he has to always try to figure out. So he's the one always doing the dirty tricks, throwing coins in Barbossa's face and kicking him when he's got the high ground, and just whatever dirty tricks he can do, Jack's always the one to do them.
He also holds his sword like everybody else.
Yes.
Like, so he's like, he holds his sword like I would. Like, please don't come near me with this. Like, step back.
Yes, his form is terrible.
It's funny you mentioned that, Nick, because the other night we had just finished watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and then immediately went to the Errol Flynn 1938 Robin Hood, which, by the way, is a fucking hoot to watch. I mean, I understand limitations of a 1938 high Warner Brothers budget, but oh my god, the sword fighting in there. My wife's like, "Is he even hitting anything?" Because it's a lot of this, I can't really it's a lot of wrists and just twirling and twirling and twirling.
Hey, look, some of us, that's how we really sword fight, okay? That's just what we do.
Well, that's what, somebody in a sword fight on stage running to Treasure Island, so I'm not one to talk. So, interesting fact, by the way, about that 1938 Robin Hood, they were shooting their actors with real arrows. They had like a metal vest on and a piece of balsa wood, and they're paid $150 in 1938 money to get shot with real arrows.
You know what? I'm good without getting the $150.
I must have killed more men than Cecil B. DeMille.
And yet still no stuntman Oscar.
I know. It's crazy.
But I mean,
we didn't once talk about Will Turner, and I don't know if that was just intentional because he's just there.
I like Will. I mean, especially as you progress throughout the movies, he definitely takes on a larger role and becomes much more interesting character. I mean, this one,
mustache.
Hey, he had a really nice hat at the end. That was a really nice hat.
Oh yeah,
he had a feather in it.
A really big feather too.
Yeah.
But he still has. I think he still gets some of the more cringeworthy lines in the movie.
Yeah.
You know what? When you have so many really kind of wacky, kind of larger than life characters like Jack and Barbossa, you have to have someone that's down to earth, and unfortunately, they tend to get the butt end of everything.
I don't necessarily dislike Will Turner, but I'm not really one to choose the straightforward hero good guy. They don't do it for me. So like in the movies, they're just not the ones I usually go towards. So, but I do like that, because he's such a good guy, he just sees people for who they are. So even with his defense of Jack, he said he's a pirate. He's like, yeah, but he's also a good man. So I appreciated that about him. So it wasn't so goody goody, you're a good man but you're a pirate and you're bad, so I have to turn you in, So
yeah,
I like that part of it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, film, TV, theater, any genre, you're always going to have the romantic male lead that is going to say cringeworthy lines and is going to have at least one scene where they're staring glassy-eyed in some direction. It's just inevitable. But no, what I really like with Will is he knows what he's good at. He knows what he's not good at. And he legitimately gets out of the way if he knows he's not good at something.
Yeah.
So he tries to fight pirates as best as he can, but when it comes to Barbossa, there's no question. Yeah, that's 100% Jack's thing. I'll be over here.
Yeah, and I mean, he had to work with what he's got, and to be fair, if you didn't have him as the straight man, the romantic lead, then I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell that Eisner would have given them permission to let Depp do what he did.
No.
True,
because they wanted Depp to be more of a Jack Wagner, more just kind of scoundrelish pirate, but not the drunken lout that he becomes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was supposed to be Christopher Walken at one point.
They originally wrote it for Hugh Jackman.
To be Jack?
Yeah, but he wasn't nearly well known enough because he had only done I think he'd done the first X-Men. He'd done
Oklahoma.
What was that? Time
in
travel
Oklahoma, and that was it.
He was big on stage, but not on screen by the early 2000s.
So they wanted to go with a more reputable star, so they went with Depp.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense, and it works, because I've seen Christopher Walken as a pirate in that awful NBC Live version of Peter Pan.
I don't think there's anyone that could have looked good doing that.
That's essentially what I say about all of those live musical performances.
They're so bad.
If you've never had a chance, look up Peter Pan Goes Wrong. It's this British play where they're doing Peter Pan and it's going wrong, almost like it's community theater, and it's all coordinated, kind of noises off style.
Yeah.
But you literally are sitting there the kids are all laying on their triple bunk bed, and one by one the beds drop, trapping the next one underneath in their bed. Stuff like that happening, and you watch that and go, man, the people who did Peter Pan Live are really jealous of this, how well this is going.
I definitely have to check that out. That sounds awesome.
It's absolutely brilliant.
So do we have anything else that we wanted to say about Pirates of the Caribbean before we wrap up this high seas adventure?
You know what? There is one character we haven't talked about yet.
Elizabeth Swann?
Yeah. You know, hey,
we've talked of her.
I mean, she's there.
That's the
Go ahead. Sorry.
The unfortunate reality is, in the first movie, she's just kind of there. She has some good moments. You know, she's got the try wearing a corset bit and a couple other things. They really didn't figure out what to do with her character until the sequels. The sequels, they really figured out what they were going to do with her, and she got to do some awesome stuff and have a fantastic arc. But this first movie, she unfortunately, she's very damsel in distressy, unfortunately.
Yeah. This was during the time too when I always felt like all of her lines were delivered through clenched teeth.
Oh yeah,
the Keira Knightley thing, and that's the same thing with her in Love Actually, which came out in the same year. I mean, she would eventually become a very good actress. I like a lot of what Keira Knightley brings to the table now.
Yeah,
but you know, as a 17-year-old girl, still kind of learning the ropes. Yeah, she's just kind of there. And I always just try to imagine any of her little stinger lines accompanied by the by that bit in Baba O'Reilly from The Who. Try wearing a corset. Yeah!
I always have to give her a little bit of a handicap because I always just think like, well, what did she do before this? She had to try to pretend to be Natalie Portman in the first Star Wars Phantom Menace. So,
I mean, she was also in Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah,
she was the lead Bend It Like Beckham, but that was really her. Those are really her only claims to fame before this movie.
Yeah.
I just prefer the American version, so that's just I like Natalie Portman more. And honestly, while we were sitting here, I was like, oh yeah, I like her later when she does the SNL stuff, and I was like, oh wait, that's the American version. Never mind.
There's no Kira's rap on a Lonely Island album anywhere.
But there should be.
It should be. They should have.
I wouldn't be against it.
I wouldn't be against it either.
The American
I think
version.
she's at that point in her career where she could get away with that.
I think so too. I mean, if you have people like, if you have some of the famous Hollywood redheads putting the other ones on Christmas cards and sending it out to everybody, they should do that too. Like, it should be a thing. As far as her in the movie Elizabeth, I like that they gave you glimpses of who she would become later.
Yeah.
But she has kind of the same issue of like Will Turner in this movie. They're just like there to kind of be a part of the storyline, and then later on they get to do better things. He got to do more things in this movie than she did, but really both of them I think shine in the sequels.
Yeah,
the first movie. So
definitely. Oh, sure.
Awesome. So yeah, Kat.
Hi, Kat.
What are you doing? Don't mess up my spread there, Kat.
I just said.
So anyway, that was Pirates of the Caribbean. We don't have anything else we want to add, do we?
I do.
Okay, Nick. All right, Nick, then Tom.
Caribbean or is it Caribbean? Because I've been saying Pirates of the Caribbean for like ever.
I think both are correct.
Both are correct, and I'll pronounce. I don't. There is no reason for when I'll pronounce it Caribbean versus Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the movie, it's always been Pirates of the Caribbean, just because it. I don't know. It rolls a little better than Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's me. But I'm taking a boat to the Caribbean. That is something I could not answer. I honestly don't think there's a right or wrong answer for that. And if there is, please leave one in the comments so we know. With full phonetic pronunciation. And keep it civil, please. I don't need that. Okay, cuck, here's how it's pronounced. Tom, you had something you also wanted to mention?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention the fact that this was Disney's first PG-13 film that they had ever made, and props to them for how much they go for it. I mean, you get that the moment where you know they're going to go for it, that moment where the butler opens the door, takes, they show you that he's about to get shot in the head. You don't see the gun go off, but you watch his stiff body fall dead to the floor. They very clearly show, like, this is not as kid-oriented as you think Disney is.
Right. There's implied throat slittings in this movie.
Yep.
There's a lot of just flat-out bloody murder in this movie. And, yeah, it earned the PG-13. But, Tom, interesting trivia question to set you back here. What was the first live-action Disney PG movie?
I'm going to be wrong and say Tron.
You are wrong. It's a good answer, though, but it is actually The Black Hole.
That's...
You know what? You are completely forgiven because, in my mind, they're virtually the same movie. So, even though they're nothing alike.
Can we also say how good of a job Gore Verbinski does for his fourth movie?
Yeah.
And, I mean, he'd done nothing on this scale before. I mean, the movie he was well known for before this was The Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'd done The Ring. He had done The Mexican, I think it was.
Yeah.
Mouse Hunt.
Yeah, and Mouse Hunt, yeah. So, just these small little, like, kind of family movies or little minor horror movies. And he does this big pirate epic, and it turns into a massive blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah, his career did not have a clear pathway. Not like like Joe Johnson. I know he's got very serial adventure movies is his thing, but yeah, Gore Verbinski, you still just couldn't put a pin in what exactly it is for him.
Right, he's kind of like a high-end director for hire. Because again, think about what else is he known for? He, other than the 3 Pirates movies, Rango, The Ring, and in some circles, A Cure for Wellness. Okay, I totally forgot about that movie.
Don't forget The Lone Ranger.
Oh yeah, Lone Ranger.
No matter how much he tries to forget about it.
Disney tries to quite often.
Yes.
That's not on Disney Plus, is it?
Probably not.
They lost it.
I'm looking it up right now.
They lent the movie to a friend, and they don't remember which friend, and it's too awkward to ask which one, so they're just forgetting they owned it.
It is there.
It is?
It is there.
Oh, click on it. Sometimes they have a movie there, and then when you go to watch it, they're like, "Oh, we actually will have this on here."
It will be available April 30th of 2021.
Set your alarms.
That's 2.5 hours too. I'm guessing it feels like 2.5 hours.
Honestly, it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. It's not good by any means, but there's enough redeeming in it that it doesn't belong in like the worst movies ever made. About 5 years ago, I used to actually host a second podcast with my friend Steve called "Who's Responsible for This?" and we actually did cover The Lone Ranger.
Can you bring it back?
Huh? Did I bring that back?
Yeah.
I'll let Steve know. I know I've got the episode somewhere. I could probably just forward those over to you or put them on the Geek Salad archive.
Good luck finding Steve with some free time.
Yeah, I couldn't do a show like that without even more yelling than I already do on our show. And I know that's quite a bit.
I just try to see if it's still here or not. I found it on Stitcher, but I don't know if it's actually going to load. Oh yeah, no, we actually got rid of a lot of these archives, so it's living somewhere. It's just living somewhere.
Fair enough.
So yeah. So any other thoughts on Pirates of the Caribbean before we wrap up?
No, drink some rum if you're 21 and up or 18 or 18.
But why is the rum
Bring out
gone?
the rum.
You said what was the rum?
But why is the
Where's
rum gone?
Actually, one of my favorite pictures I ever took at Disney World was we were right out in front of Pirates of the Caribbean. And we had just gotten off the ride, and my wife and I got the guy who does the memory maker photos, and we stood right next to the rum barrel, and my wife is pointing right at it, so we could just tell everyone we found where the rum went. And then it went into my belly. So Nick, tell us, where can we find the Black Girls Do Stuff Too podcast?
So you can find episodes of our show anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn, pretty much, like you said, anywhere. And also you can find us where we're most active. And right now, the only place we're active is Twitter. BOK Girls Do Stuff, and everywhere else is Black Girls Do Stuff Too.
And how about you, Tom?
You can find our podcast pretty much in all the same places that you can find Black Girls Do Stuff Too. And yeah, I'm constantly on ranting and raving on Twitter at Movies Work. So yeah, I'm usually on there getting angry at some movie announcement that's been made or just something random.
One day our DC rant is going to be fucking epic.
Oh yeah.
And you can find Mike and I at Geek Salad, also available wherever you can get Nick and Tom podcasts. So we're available on all the Podchaser apps. We're also most active on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio, but we're also on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. You can buy this fine swag like Mike and Tom are using at our TeePublic store, Geek Salad Podcast. That's the search feature that you're going to use there. And I got to say, this week, if you really want to get an idea for how amazing our hashtag Podern family is, we've got Nick, we've got Tom, two of my favorite people to work with on the Podosphere. Today, I just did a show with Rob from the Altered Universe podcast. Today, actually, Chen Lin from the Bingels podcast released an episode that we had talking about The Witcher. And next week, all of our good friend M from Verbal Diorama and I discuss Galaxy Quest. So Salad is feeling all the love from this family, and I can't say how much I just can't understate how much I appreciate. Actually, I guess I can't overstate how much I appreciate what you guys mean to the show, what you guys bring to us, and just me as a person, and Mike as a person. We love having you guys in our lives. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed.
It is fantastic to get to be part of this community as well, and it's really it's always exciting for me when I'm able to go to my wife and go, is it okay if I go on Geek Salad tonight? You're not doing anything tonight, right?
Oh, that was me. That was me tonight too. I'm just like, I've got something to do. Go play Spyro or something, and I'll be up there around like 9:30 or so. It's almost 10. We gotta wrap this up because my wife still wants her rum drink. So, what were your thoughts on Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl? Leave a civil comment below. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. We have episodes, even our podcast show up on this one as well. So definitely check us out. And until next time, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
Go forth, be nerdful, and never mind. Wind at your sails, folks.